Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with another interesting Jay Slater video. And as usual, there's a number of things that I do want to bring to your attention. I'm really struggling to understand who this Josh FORSHAW guy really is. I know there's Mark Smith, Duncan Smith. They're doing a fantastic job trying to understand who he is, where he's from, and what type of involvement he could potentially have in any type of operation that was taking place over in Tenerife. There's a multitude of things that he mentioned in the inquest that don't make any sense, but there's two things that I want to quickly bring to your attention. One thing he did mention is that Jay asked him to break a pill in half for him and Brad. So a few of you guys in the comments made me think twice about that part, because I was thinking, that's so true. Why would Jay need Josh to split one pill for him and Brad, when if it's him or Brad that's taking and sharing this pill, why would he be asking a third party to break it for him? Why wouldn't Jay break the pill, or why wouldn't Brad break the pill in half? I mean, it just made me think, why was that so significant? Why the need to mention that Jay asked you to take this pill, break it in half for him and Brad to share? When I actually look back at it, I feel like the main reason for Josh mentioning that he split a pill for Jay is to confirm that Jay was on pills. Jay was taking drugs. The visual footage that we see of Jay in the NRG festival proved that he was on some type of substances. Whether you wanted to speculate on what type of substances he was under is a different story. The second thing that never made sense to me, and surely doesn't make sense to anyone that's watching this right now, is why Josh would have deleted the video or picture of Jay with two knives in his trousers. Why was there a need to tell Mark Williams Thomas that Jay had knives in his trousers? You told Mark Williams Thomas, but it was something that he couldn't verify because you deleted the picture. At the same time, you never told the Spanish police about it, which doesn't make any sense because you told Mark Williams Thomas about it. But if you didn't tell Mark Williams Thomas about it, then the only way it could have got back to Mark Williams Thomas is through that WhatsApp message, which means Mark Williams Thomas was promoting to the world that Jay had two knives via information he read off a WhatsApp message, again, which couldn't be verified. And even if you spoke to the person that sent that message, they couldn't even verify it. So if that's the case, what is the need for Josh to mention that Jay had two knives? Jay's got two knives just in case it kicks off. Just in case what kicks off. So I don't understand the significance or the importance of Josh's role. When you actually strip that message back, it just seems like Josh is giving an alibi to Brad, and at the same time, he's throwing Ayub under the bus. He's letting the world know that Ayub's some sort of drug dealer, and he's the one that Jay and Jay's mates were getting the drugs from. Now, that right there would make you think, well, he can't be on Ayub's side. Why the hell would he be throwing Ayub under the bus? Why would he be saying all of that stuff about Ayub if he was on Ayub's side? Well, this is where mind games come into play, because at the end of the day, the only person that's mentioned to anyone that Ayub is a drug dealer or Ayub was giving Jay and his friends loads of cocaine is this unverified Don called Josh. Now, the moment Ayub comes forward, speaks to Mark Williams Thomas, clears his name and says, listen, everything that was in that message is absolute BS, Josh is nowhere to be seen. Josh isn't going to come forward and say, actually, he is the guy that was selling the cocaine to my man. Then what then doesn't sit right with me is the fact that Jay would have allegedly sent this video or this picture to Josh, but somehow this deleted picture or this deleted photo or whatever it was cannot be retrieved. Why? How? Make it make sense. Remember what Josh is saying here. He is saying one phone send him that information. So if his phone doesn't have that information, then the other phone that sent him that information must have it. Or are you telling me that it was deleted? Or are you telling me that Josh just made it all up? What's extremely interesting about what Josh has said in the inquest in comparison to what he said in this text message to Debbie or this WhatsApp message to Debbie, he said he can't remember if he told Brad. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because when he sent the message to Debbie, claims that when he was on a FaceTime to Jay with Brad, that's when Jay claimed he had left with two knives. Why didn't Brad know about the two knives? Why didn't you bring that to Brad's attention? It really comes across like what Josh has said in court is a contradiction to what he said in the initial message that he would have thought about before sending to Debbie. I mean, that message would have been thoroughly thought about. You would have written it, looked at it, reread it, made sure everything was how it needed to sound and be or whatever, and then you would have sent it. It's kind of like how Josh puts it across in the WhatsApp to Debbie. Once him and Brad got on the FaceTime call with Jay, that's when they realized he had two knives, and that's when he realized, or they realized, Jay had claimed he'd stolen this watch. If you actually go back to that WhatsApp message prior to Josh talking about the FaceTime call with Brad, He doesn't mention anything incriminating that Jay would have done. Everything comes after that FaceTime call. Now we've got the contradiction because Josh says he can't remember if he told Brad about the 2 knives. And then the problem that you have alongside that is Brad's not at the inquest. So when he is questioned about the 2 knife theory, he hasn't even got Brad standing there to kind of back him up. Would Brad have backed him up? Would Brad have said, yeah, no, actually, he did tell me about the 2 knives. And I do remember seeing a video or a picture, because it doesn't make any sense. If Jay would have sent this over to somebody and it was that serious, you would have shown that to somebody. You would have shown that to multiple people. You would have shown that to Jay's other friends. You wouldn't have looked at that. Being the person that least knows Jay, being the person that only met Jay literally 72 hours ago, but then not show that to any of his friends. That right there makes no sense. And this is the reason why you can call this Josh a lie. Because not only does the answers that he gave in the inquest not actually match up to what he said in the message to Debbie, but nothing he has said has been able to get verified. Nothing. Again, even the stolen watch theory, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, hasn't been verified. Mark Williams Thomas, the police, no one could actually confirm whether it actually happened or not, which means there was no victim, which means there was no incident, which means it was made up. It also makes sense to me that Mark Williams Thomas would have got Abe's picture through Josh, because in that message that Josh sent over to Debbie, it had attached a picture of Jay and Abe. So like I told you guys months and months and months ago, the moment these guys realized that Mark Williams Thomas had landed, they changed their approach. They then started to plant things to make it look like. They didn't mind throwing Abe under the bus because ultimately this is Abe Qasim's story. Therefore, when he speaks to Mark Williams Thomas, he is going to be able to play the game however he wants to play the game. Remember, Abe told us himself that he knew this was going to happen. That's why he put a fake name on the Airbnb. What does he mean by he knows this was going to happen? What was going to happen? That someone was going to go missing and that there was going to be international coverage. You put a fake name on the Airbnb because you knew this was going to happen, which means at some point before this happened, Abe had already contemplated whether he wanted to put his own neck on the line for this. So therefore, he had to think of a story that kept him out of it. He had to think of something that ensured he wasn't getting bagged. At the same time, he's got the person in his corner that's going to get him deemed irrelevant within 24 hours. So he doesn't really have much to worry about. He still wants to stay one step ahead. So therefore, I'll put a fake name on the Airbnb just in case something comes back of this. But something comes back of what is the question, ladies and gentlemen. And that clearly is the death of Jay Slater. Back to this guy, Josh. Josh is starting to look like a key player now. Because again, Josh is the one that was given the green light to throw Abe under the bus. Abe being thrown under the bus was a part of the plan. They had to change strategy. They knew it could potentially happen. And that's clearly what Abe was referring to, hence why he put a fake name on the Airbnb. But ultimately, after days of Mark Williams Thomas being there, the strategy had to change. Josh FORSHAW had to be a plant, sent this fake fraudulent message to Debbie. It was meant to be for Debbie. I'm not too sure if Debbie received it, but what we do know is Mark received it. Mark must have spoke to this guy, Josh. If he didn't speak to this guy, Josh, then oh my God, it makes you even look more fraudulent. However, I can only assume that Mark would have followed up this message by speaking to Josh. And that's how he would have got Abe's picture. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, there is a GDPR law in place in the EU, which means data protection. There is no way through Airbnb, the Daily Mail would have been able to pay to get Abe's picture. That is against the law. And on that basis, Airbnb can have their business shut down. So I don't believe when Abe says that Mark Williams Thomas and the Daily Mail got his picture from paying the Airbnb. I think that's total nonsense and BS. They got his picture and his identity because he wanted them to have his picture and his identity, and he done it through Josh. He done it through Josh. A message that was meant to be sent to Debbie was also for people like Mark Williams Thomas. Through that information, you're going to be able to dissect some criminal activity. We're talking about cocaine, drugs, and various other activities that could potentially put Abe in a compromising position. But again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Abe Qasim's story. The moment Abe comes out and takes control and tells the world exactly what it is, no one's going to come and object. No one's going to come and say, no, actually, Abe's lying. I don't know Abe. He ain't my mate. I've never met him before. No, Jay met him. Jay met him that night. Because according to Lucy, Jay by himself, not we met these two strangers that night. No, Jay met these two strangers that night. So how can Abe now all of a sudden tell us, no, they're my mates? They're my mates. How do you think I'm around them? What, you think I'm just around them? No, they're my boys. Like, come on, what do you mean? He's just shutting it all down. And Lucy's like, yeah, whatever he said. Do you understand where I'm going with this, ladies and gentlemen? It's clear as day. See, these guys have effed up in so many ways. So many ways, it's unbelievable. They were hoping that Josh Forshaw was enough to get that coroner's court closed. This is done and dusted. Ayoub was clearly getting encouragement from Sluggy the side chick, and he has been more or less his advisor behind the scenes, giving Ayoub the reassurance that he needs, that he can continue to go online and talk as much crap as he can. Go online, Ayoub. You're absolutely fine, because based on the information that I know, they're not looking at you as some sort of suspect. You are absolutely fine, my guy. But there we have Ayoub online, cracking away, doing all these live streams, trolling people like me, trolling other content creators, and he's getting all of that encouragement and all of that reassurance, as well as some of the content from Sluggy, the side chick. The other point I want to bring up in this video are the text messages. There are still a few text messages that we need to go through. Lucy's text messages. Duncan Smith done a great video, I think it was today at some point, where he was talking about Lucy's text messages to Jay and how what she said in her interview with the media is more or less things that she could have said or probably did say to Jay via text message, like, go back to wherever you came from, which is extremely weird knowing what we know today. Lucy was at the Airbnb. So what do you mean you text him at 8:30 saying go back to wherever you came from? Wow. What are you planting? What are you making it look like? We are going to go through those messages and really debunk what's being said and try and connect these dots. But one thing I wanted to mention about the messages is that a drunk Jay, 15 shots of vodka, bottles of Henny, various different party drugs. This is a person that was waved out of their face. In that last bit of footage we saw of Jay, there was no way he was able to stand, let alone look at his phone and write messages without even getting a word wrong. In the video footage of Jay in the back of the car with Ayoub driving, in that message that was put across the screen, there were minor typos. But if you look at that message, it was only the 2 and the with without the TH, without the TH, they were only typos. Then we got a second picture telling us the same story, but the message that was written across that story had changed. It wasn't one Somali kid. It was now 2 Somali kids randomly. But not only that, there was no typos. And we're supposed to believe that this is a 15 vodka shot drinking Jay, Hennessy drinking Jay, party drug taking Jay. And it also brings me to the video of Rocky sleeping in the car. I actually went back and listened to the original audio that Ayoub published months before he showed us any video of Rocky sleeping in the car. The audio sounds different. The audio sounds like they're in a room, like they're in a building. There's too much reverb on that audio for it to be outside. But then somehow, when they've given us the video version, the audio has been changed to sound like it could be outside. But that wasn't the original sounding audio that we had from the get-go. And that's the reason why Ayoub deleted the original audio. It doesn't sound like they're outside whatsoever. It sounds like they're inside. And the thing that I thought was chains sounds like canisters. I think they were inside, in a building, in a room, somewhere inside, and they had balloons. They had balloons around and there was canisters there. 110% I believe them to be canisters now. But it wasn't canisters in a bag. So it couldn't have been Jay outside carrying canisters. It had to have been in a location where people are sitting on those canisters. They are literally stepping and treading on those canisters, which means they were getting super duper high of balloons wherever that recording was taken. Ladies and gentlemen, let's leave it there. I think we're going to be doing another comparison with the audio and the video of Rocky sleeping in the car. I think we need to do that again so I can bring it to your attention so you can understand the difference between the audio. We're also going to be back to talk about the Jay SLATER Channel 4 documentary. That's right, Channel 4 Investigations. As far as I'm being told and as far as I'm reading, Channel 4 are investigating the death of Jay SLATER. They are putting together the documentary, which they have been filming since last year. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I'm reading and that's what I'm being told as well, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to do another video where we're going to look at that in a bit more detail. We'll also be back to talk about Lucy's messages, the ones that she sent to Jay Slater when he had allegedly left the Airbnb. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if we are newly watching. I need to know exactly what you guys are thinking right about now. So leave all of your comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.